Real Shofar Perek Aleph Halacha Vov. The Rambam says, "First of all, of course, shuhu. If you add anything to the shofar, bein b'minoi, bein shaloi b'minoi, possible, whether it's from a material that's from a shofar or not, it's possible." Those are the Peirush HaMeir explains. Here we're talking about that without the addition, there's no shofar. But if there's already a shofar, which is a tefach, it's kosher, because the addition is considered as if it's not there. It's just like it would have a crack. Whatever's after the crack is not effective if there's a shiur towards the side of the mouth, because we see the rest as if it was cut off. So the Mishnah says as well. Cites there are those who have the opinion that even when there is a measure and he adds to it more sections, it's possible, and not simply that it's kosher. If it's a tzipor zomi bifnim, he covered it with gold inside, and he wants to blow via the gold. And you hear the voice of the gold, and not the voice of the shofar, or where the mouth touches the shofar, there's actually gold there, it's invalid because the gold separates between his mouth and the touching of the shofar. According to this, if somebody blows in a regular shofar, but his mouth is not touching the actual shofar, you do not fulfill the obligation because of the separation between his mouth and the shofar. Tzipozo mibachutz, if you cover it with gold outside, in nishtana koiloi mikamoy shahoyo, if the voice is changed from what it was, it's possible. If no nishtana kosher, if it wasn't changed, it's kosher. Now, those who make designs on a shofar to make it beautiful, on the outside they make all types of designs. My Mishnah says in the name of the Rambam, that's not correct what they're doing. Maybe it'll cause the voice of the shofar to be changed because of the decorations. Manoach adds that they used to place a garment under the design, and therefore it's like covering it. And he concludes that therefore it says in the Brisa that it was covered with gold, meaning in the past tense and after the fact. But to begin with, if you not add anything to the shofar, maybe it will cause the voice of the shofar to change. But the Rambam writes that you can scratch on the shofar itself designs to make it more beautiful, because that doesn't affect the voice. And even if it does, it's still, we don't care about it, because that becomes the voice of the shofar. There's no set guideline on how many millimeters thick it has to be, etc. As we find the continuation of Rambam and Halacha Zion, that if you scratched out all the bone, whether from within or without, and it's very thin, the shofar is kosher, even though that will cause a change in the resonation of the voice that comes forth from the shofar. The Rambam doesn't bring the din of covering with gold, where you don't put your mouth, it's kosher, like it says in the Brisa. Because the Mishnah explains, only if it wasn't changed, it's kosher. But if it was changed, it's possible. And if that's the case, that's included in the law of covering with gold from the outside. What does it mean where you place your mouth? Shulchan Aruch in 586 writes that there are those who explain that means the inner hole of the shofar, and the outer part is called not the place of the mouth. Therefore, you can't cover the gold where the mouth is placed because it goes through the gold and not through the shofar. Here, those that explain that the side is where when the mouth is placed means that's not in the side of the mouth is placed means anywhere else on the shofar, from the short, thin side till the wide end. Therefore, you can't cover with gold because of the separation between his mouth and the shofar, even if it's more distantly in than the beginning of the shofar. The other halachas that we're going to, which continue in the Gemara, are Nozer Shofar b'Tech Shofar. If you place one shofar within the other and you blow both of them seemingly, Im Koil Pnimi Shama Yotza. If you're hearing the voice of the inner shofar, then you fulfilled your obligation. Because the mouth of the shofar of the inner one would be protruding beyond that of the outer one, and therefore what you hear is not the voice between the shofars. That's why you fulfill your obligation. But if he hears the outer shofar, that the mouth of the shofar, the outer one, is protruding beyond the inner one, and the inner one doesn't touch the mouth of the one who blows it, lo yotzi, you do not fulfill your obligation, because the blowing of the tkiya goes through the inner shofar and also goes between the inner and the outer one, and therefore he's blowing with two shofars. The Torah says shofar echad, one shofar, not two or three shofars. Shulchan Aruch writes, if you put the shofar into your mouth and the inner one extends over the outer one from both sides, and he put the inner one in his mouth and he blew in it, he blew via the inner one, it's kosher on condition that the voice doesn't change because it's within the outer one. The Gemara is lenient that even if it does not protrude the outer portion, but it's equal on the outside, on the further part away from his mouth, since it's the part that's towards his mouth and is closer to his mouth than the outer covering. And therefore, when you blew in the inner one, you fulfill your obligation. The Mishnah Berurah writes in the name of the Taz that the Mechaber also agrees that to begin with, if they're both equal, it's possible to hear only the inner one and it's kosher. But since it's very difficult to be that exact, therefore you require that it should be visible that the inner one is the one that's being blown, and he adds that if the inner one is shorter than the outer one, everyone would agree that you're not yoitzer, because the voice comes from between the two shofars. Now, the Rambam adds hirchiv is akotzer. We said the shofar is malleable. When you cook it, it becomes soft. So what happens if he stretched the thin part, and he squeezed the outer part, that the shofar is the reverse of what it was when it was on the animal, possible. It's not valid. Rabbeinu Menachos explains that the side that's wide of the shofar is that which is attached to the head of the animal. Because as the horn grows, it becomes thinner. If he changes the shofar from the way it grows, was created, he makes it soft through heat, and therefore the wide part becomes the thin part, and the thin part becomes the wide part. It's possible. The reason is brought in the Gemara, since the Torah says, "And you shall have cause a shofar to be heard." It doesn't say you should blow. As it says, blow a shofar during this month. We learn from this that it has to be the way the shofar exists, was created. Rashi the Gemara explains that the way the ram has it grow on its head. Machon Nesher explains that the way you remove it from the head of the animal, that the wide part is near the head and the thin part is above. The din of Hafchu Kiketuno, meaning that he exchanged the inside for the outside, meaning we find in the Gemara two texts, if it's kosher or posel. The Mephoshim are clear what the Rambam would say regarding this. Machon Nesher writes, the Rambam would seem to say it's posel, because it's just like exchanging the thin for the long one. What's the difference if you invert it inside out? And so it would seem for the Yerushalmi. Therefore, one should be machmir not to do so. Shulchan Aruch paskins that it's posel. It doesn't matter whether you exchanged the thin for the lengthy part, and you expanded the thin part to be wide and the wide part to be thin, or you turned it inside out. It wouldn't make any difference. It'd be posel.